Okay, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Looker Studio setup so that your students can see only their scores, and it can be color coded and with little bars and stuff. That way that it's very visual, it's very easy for them to see what they need to do to fix it, or where they're doing good, where they need improvement. And also I like to add comments that show what they need to do to fix each grade. That way they don't have to ask me, how do I improve this grade? You can just go on and read it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to create a Google Sheet. Here I have some sample data just with all their grades. And so for example, here I have average, I have the students' names, their emails, what subject this is, which assignment that is, the score they got, the maximum score they could have gotten. Here this is just an automatic formula. It calculates the average from these two. And then here I have comments, and the comments I have, and I'll make this available in case you want to copy it, but basically it just checks their percentage, and then based on the percentage it tells them, it provides them with the comments. And then what you would do if you have another assignment is you would just go in there, copy this, paste it, and then you would say, okay, let's say this one's for writing, and we'll call it, right, and we would just copy this, paste it down, and then you would copy and paste your grades. This is also a formula. It automatically calculates the average of all these. So let's say that this was out of 20 and these were their scores. Obviously I'm just doing this very quickly. And then I also have this set up with color coding, and like I said, you'll be able to see this. So you can see the comments were automatically adjusted based on their scores. The color coding, if you just go to conditional formatting, here's the color coding codes that I have. So you can pause and look at that. Okay, so here we have everybody with 2 assignments, but we don't want them to be able to see each other's grades, just their own grades, and we want it to be very visual. So we're going to go to lookerstudio.google.com. I'm just going to use my personal account, that's fine. So I'm going to create a new report, and it's going to ask you to set, the first time it's going to ask you to set up some information. So here I'm just going to put, I agree, and my country is United States. Alright, now that we have our country and company, we'll say continue. No, I don't want to receive emails. No, I don't want to receive updates. No, I don't want to participate. I'm just a non-participatory kind of guy. Okay, so now it says continue to previous action, so now I'm going to create the report again. Okay, and then I'm going to connect to my data, and I'm going to do this via Google Sheets. And I have to authorize it, and I am going to have it through my personal account. Okay, so I'm going to select sample data. I'm going to use the first row as headers because I wrote headers on there. I'm going to include hidden and filter data. I'm not going to include specific ranges. I'm just going to include everything. So I'm going to say add. Okay, I'm about to add data to this report. Go ahead and add it. Okay, so you can see here it's imported the data. There's still nothing on here because we haven't added anything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a chart. I'm going to use a simple table. It's going to follow me around. I'm going to click it where I want it. Then I'm going to go ahead and expand it to the maximum possible. So now we can see first off that it has everybody's data on there. That's not what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Resource, Manage Annotated Sources. We're going to edit this data source. We're going to say filter by email, filter data by viewer email. We're going to select the email field, which we've conveniently named email. Then we're going to say done, and we're going to say allow, and we're going to say close. Okay, so now it's only going to show data for the data associated with my email. So since my email is only associated with this line and this line, it's only going to show that data. So click this so we can see everything. And then what we're going to do is first we're going to add some dimensions. Dimensions are just the details for like filtering and stuff. They don't actually have a whole lot of numbers. So we're going to drag over tarea, which is the assignments. We're going to drag over the subject, and we're going to drag over my comments. And I like to do it in that order. And you'll notice it showed up in that order. And we can adjust here the widths to be what we want. And then down here, under metrics, this is where the fun is. We're going to drag over puntuaje, we're going to drag over max, and we're going to drag over por ciento. And we're going to get rid of record count. We don't need that. I'm also going to get rid of name. They already know what their name is. Okay, so now we have all the data on here that we want. And it's filtered. So when a student logs in, this is what they're going to see. But we want this to be a little more visual. This is already helpful because it gives them comments and stuff like that. But we want it to be a little more helpful. So the first thing that I see that I want to do is I want these comments to wrap so they can see the full comments. So I'm going to go over here. So the first thing I want to do is I see these comments, they're not wrapped. I want them to be able to see the whole thing. So I'm going to go over here to Style. So I'm going to go to Style. I'm going to scroll down a little bit. I'm going to go to Wrap Text. And I'm going to do that also down here, Wrap Text. So now they can see the comments. The first one was for the titles in case you have long titles. Okay, so we're looking better already. The next thing, while I'm here in Style, this is our third metric. So I'm going to scroll down to where it says, so these are the dimensions, which are the first ones, right? And then the metrics. So I'm going to scroll down to metric 3 right here. And instead of appearing as a number, I want it to appear as a bar. And instead of being purple, I don't really want purple, I'm going to go with gray. Okay, so now I got a bar, so it already is showing me, it's kind of hard to see here because they're both about the same, but you can tell there's a little bit of difference there. So show me a bar for their percentage, which is helpful. Colors are also helpful though, so I'm going to go up here, I'm going to add a conditional formatting rule. And I'm going to use a color scale gradient. I'm going to format based on a specific field, so I'm going to choose por ciento, the percentage. Now I'm going to change the scale that they have here a little bit. Instead of 0 for red, I'm going to make it 50 for red, so as soon as it hits 50, it'll be red. And then I'm going to make it 70 for yellow. I'm going to make it 80 for green, and I'm going to add one underneath here. I'm going to change it to 100, and I'm going to make that blue because I think blue is the best color. Okay. The last change I'm going to make here is I'm going to change it from percent to number on all of these because I have mine based on numbers, not on percentage values. Then I'm going to say save, and now you can see that they've highlighted it color based on the actual percentage that they have. So the last thing I want to do here in Style is I want to go back down to metric 3, and I'm going to say show numbers. So now they can see the percentage that they have here, and they can see the color, and they can see the bar graph. So just to make this stand out a little bit more, I'm going to go back to my sample data. And this is for the average data, so I'm just going to temporarily force it to change. So I'm going to change this to a 12, which will really drop that down, and I'm going to change this to a 25. Okay. Now if we go back here and we refresh our data, we can see that for the one where they got 100, right, 100%, 25 out of 25, it's now blue, it's got a long nice bar, and where the one where they got 12 out of 25, it's now red and it's got a short bar. So my students find this really helpful because it lets them really quickly see, they don't have to read all this down, or they don't have to figure out what these numbers mean, they just see the colors and the length of the bar. So the last thing you're going to do is you're going to go to share. And I'm doing this in my personal account, but when you're using your school account, it'll ask you to share just to people in the school district, which is perfectly fine. And then you just copy link, and you say done, and then all you have to do is share the link with them. You just post it on Google Classroom, and then everybody can open it, and as soon as they open it, they will only see their own data. They won't see anybody else's data. It'll be nice and color-coded. It'll tell them exactly how they can fix their grades. So here it says if you want to fix your grade, you need to take this exam again during recess. Okay? So if you have any questions, please let me know. I hope this is helpful.